Okay, here is the cool part. Not the best part, but the cool part about this watch. The price. Yes, I managed to buy this brand new for $219 and in this video I'll tell you how I did it, and of course I will tell you how you can do it too. Then I'll tell you probably the most important part, that is, should you actually buy it in the first place? You know, you don't need to do something just because you can. Well, let's roll that intro. Hello and welcome back. It's great to see you back, and of course I assume that you're one of our almost 11,000 lovely subscribers, and if not, that oversight can be very easily fixed right away by clicking that subscribe button over there. As we will be taking a closer look at this watch, I must say that after examining it in person, so to speak, I was pleasantly surprised by the level of craftsmanship and some of its features that they were not particularly obvious from the product listings. I will of course cover them in detail in this video. There are also some aspects of this watch that a potential buyer needs to be aware of, and those are not particularly obvious from the listings either, so rest assured I will be covering this in this review as well. And I will leave a link to this watch listings in the description of this video if you want to check it out for yourself. So yes, I paid $219 for this watch on German shop, and if you are in USA, I believe you can even get this shipped to you for free. Because I'm in the UK, I paid $14 for standard shipping. So how did I manage to get this watch at this price? Well, just sign up to the German shop newsletter and they will be spamming you, sending you details of the day, season, months or whatever else other sale special they have. And this is how I knew about this one. So when I got an email from German shop and I saw this watch available for $219, I had to pause, think about it for about 30 seconds, and then I pulled the trigger. Needless to say, when I checked back online, and about 3 hours later, they were out of stock, so I was glad I didn't hesitate. Now, this watch is back in stock, but back at the German shop normal price. That is, if you consider $319 price at this time of actually recording this video, a normal price. A quick search online will show you that even this is a very sharp deal, because normally this Tissot model retails for around $400 and up. And by the way, this video is not sponsored by German shop, I just use them for occasional sharp deals, or because their prices are pretty good, I use them as a reference point when evaluating the watch prices on other platforms. Now, this is Tissot Couturier, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, Couturier Automatic watch with a black dial, and the model number is, well, it is a bit too long, I'll put it on the screen somewhere for your reference. Tissot watches have always had a special place in my life. My significant other, that is my wife, bought me this titanium Tissot on our wedding anniversary. As you can guess by the model of this watch, it took place a few years ago. One of my relatives had his first Tissot PRC 200 chronograph as a graduation present and wore it proudly for years. This is what Tissot watches are for me and for a lot of watch enthusiasts out there. A gateway into horology kingdom, a first step into a luxury watch world without crazy price tag, and at the same time solid, reliable, built to last, Swiss-made, go anywhere, do anything timepieces. Okay, let's actually take a look at this watch. This one came in this box. I think these are fairly recent, fully recyclable boxes. We still get a quick startup guide and the warranty conditions booklet. However, if you purchase Tissot from German shop, then any warranty issues will be addressed to German shop. I believe German shop covers their Tissot watches with 2-year warranty, but do check the details on their website. A quick run over dimensions. We have 39mm diameter bezel here. The case measured side to side is just under 41mm or 40.8 to be precise, and not 39mm as it is mentioned on most listings online. Not a big deal, but just trying to be pedantic. And we have 22mm lugs. The case height is only 10.8 mm. I like how Tissot managed to keep it so slim. Lug-to-lug distance is 47.3 mm, very compact, which combined with a slim case profile makes this watch really comfortable on the wrist. Integrated leather strap will cover up to 8.25-inch wrist or about 21 cm. And on a supplied leather strap, this watch weighs 84 grams. Not too heavy, but it will make its presence known. And here is how this watch looks on my about 7-inch wrist. I'll also put some shots of this watch on a 6.25-inch wrist later in this video. Okay, the dial, and what a nice dial it is. The pictures really don't do it justice, and I hope I can show it well on the camera. There is a lot going on there, and yet all seem to fall in place in a nice balanced harmony. The dial background has a rich black color. It is matte black, but not dull matte that we get sometimes, but rather deep, almost velvety shade of black. The dial is three-dimensional with multifaceted applied hour indices and a printed minute track done with a subtle accent of red. And in the same subtle red color we have the Swiss made printed at the bottom of the dial. We have the Tissot branding at the top, executed in white and somewhat silvery color, and the reminder that they have been making watches since 1853. Yes, Tissot has been running production in Switzerland since 1853 and, by the way, merged with Omega about 90 years ago in 1930, so my guess is that Tissot is quite proud about its horological tradition and pedigree. We have Powermatic 80 designation at the bottom of the dial, reminding us that this watch has 80 hours of power reserve, that is, more than 3 days. And we have a nicely executed and well-framed date and date window complications. I like the symmetry and balance on the dial that Tissot achieved by positioning the date at the bottom of the dial rather than on the right. We have elegant, multifaceted dolphin hands. Hands are filled with lume. The tip of the second hand stretches all the way to the minute chaptering, and there is a tiny lumed letter T on the counterbalance of the second hand. Subtle and classy detail. As on other watches in this category, the lume is a bit lackluster. It is there on the hands and on the back of the hour indices, but don't expect it to light up the room. Crystal. We have perfectly flat sapphire crystal here, set pretty much flush with the mirror-polished fixed bezel. Tissot on their website is a bit ambiguous when it comes to specs on anti-reflective coating on this watch. It states, anti-reflective coating for chronograph and gent models. My interpretation of that is that there is some kind of air coating applied. Whatever the case, the dial is very legible. Also contributing to that legibility is a little detail that we mostly observe on Swiss-made watches. I am talking about how close is the dial to the crystal. The rehaut is probably only just 2 mm deep. This can be normally achieved if your production can deliver those tight tolerances and strict quality control. Okay, looking at the case, we have a full stainless steel construction here. The finishing is flawless. This is where the pedigree of Swiss-made craftsmanship really comes to light. We have satin brushed indents on the flanks, giving us a touch of elegance on this quite imposing case. And we have polished bevels on each side of the case, turning it into a kind of cushion case for even more wrist comfort. It is surprising how much attention to detail we get on this quite modestly priced timepiece. The mirror-polished bezel creates a nice contrast between the dial and a satin brushing on top of the lugs. We have well-proportioned signed crown. The crown is about halfway recessed into the case to safeguard it from knocks and bumps. Now, this is a push-pull crown. Personally, I would of course prefer a screw-down crown, but looks like Tissot decided against it. The good quality finishing continues on the back of the case with all the facets mirror polished, and then we are presented with a lovely view of a Tissot caliber C07121. But before we take a close look at the movement here, there are a couple of details that we need to highlight. First, this is not a sapphire sandwich, that is, the exhibition back case window is not made of sapphire. Not that I expected it to, but I thought I'll check anyway. And the second detail is the fact that we have a snap-on back case as opposed to a screw-on one, which I guess is another cost-saving measure along with the push-pull crown. As with the crown, I would prefer a screw-on back case, of course. Well, irrespective, Tissot still declared 100 meters water resistance on this watch, so it is still a very practical timepiece. Now, the movement. As I just mentioned, we have here a C07121 movement, which is based on ETA caliber 2836-2, and it is used in a number of Swatch Group watch brands. Tissot and ETA are, of course, part of the Swatch Group too, so technically speaking, we are getting an in-house movement here, which is pretty cool at this price point. And as I mentioned earlier, this movement has 80 hours of power reserve. To achieve that, Tissot had to modify the mainspring barrel and slightly reduce the beating frequency of this movement from 28,800 vibrations per hour to 21,600. And the result is quite impressive, more than 3 days of power reserve. A lot of recent Tudor and Rolex watches also feature extended power reserve of around 72 hours. However, the price tag on those is considerably higher, as you can imagine. And this movement also been around for a few years now and earned a reputation of being quite accurate and reliable. So some additional peace of mind here. Now, it is nice that we get an exhibition case back, however, apart from the decorated rotor, the rest of the movement has a very basic and somewhat utilitarian finish, which is frankly quite expected at this price point. Bracelet. As for the leather strap, we get a good quality embossed leather strap here with nice stitching, which matches the red accents on the dial. Of course, there are plenty of affordable aftermarket options in case if you don't particularly like this one. Personally, I think it's okay, and I have no plans to replace it in the near future. I also like that we get a signed clasp here. I generally prefer clasps to buckles because it means there is less chance for me to drop this watch. I can be quite clumsy at times, and clasps also tend to stress the leather somewhat less than buckles. I would prefer crocodile type clasp here, of course, rather than butterfly, because it is less fiddly to operate. And also, I noticed that this is a long version of this leather strap with minimum fitting wrist size of about 6 3/4 of an inch or under 7 inches. So, if you need to fit a wrist slimmer than 6 3/4 of an inch, you might either consider an aftermarket option strap, which are available even with integrated lugs like this one, or simply punch another hole in the strap. There is possibly enough space to accommodate at least another half an inch of a length reduction. Right, time for conclusion. Well, when I bought this watch, a thought that crossed my mind was that in the worst case scenario, if I don't like it, I could always sell it on and even possibly make 100 or 150 bucks in the process. This option is still on the cards. The problem is that I actually do like this Swiss-made automatic Tissot. A unique combination of high-quality Swiss craftsmanship, great everyday practicality, and quite an affordable price. I don't have a Swiss-made dress watch in my collection, and this timepiece is well suited to cover that niche. What are your thoughts? Well, do share with us in the comments. And if you found this review helpful, don't forget to hit that like button and of course subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. And also don't forget to watch this video, or maybe even this video, or a playlist which I think I'm gonna put somewhere around here or here. Yeah. Bye now.